Okay, today we'll be reviewing Matt Butters' video on the minimalistic calisthenics routine. Now, obviously everyone wants to go home and just hit a bodyweight workout, or when they're in the gym, instead of just doing gym exercises where they're using machines and just doing all these boring movements, they want something that's simple, will maximize the results, and will get them out of the gym, but feeling good at the same time. So let's see if this routine that Matt Butters has is actually going to be beneficial. Let's play.
So calisthenics can be incredibly complex. You can see around here, there are so many different types of equipment. You've got rings, you've got all these different types of exercises that you can do. And a lot of the time it can be overwhelming. And sometimes you don't need to complicate it that much. What I want to do is...
All right, just stopping right there. He basically said that calisthenics can be complex. Look, that's not a reason for you to be scared of the sport or the skills as per se, but the reason why you might feel that way is not so much because you're doing planche, front lever, handstand push-ups, although they are intimidating. It's because you're scared of the person that you're going to have to become if you want to learn the sport. So like for me, I obviously train calisthenics, but lots of people such as my mate Amon, such as my mate Jordan and Tyler, they do mixed martial arts. And I'm not scared of doing combat sports, but I know that if I wanted to actually do it, I would have to completely change who I am. I would have to transform. I would have to be someone that needs to put in the work for cardio. I need to be someone that needs to learn new techniques, and I have to be someone that is willing to endure a huge amount of pain. So it's not so much the sport that I'm scared of. It's the person that I have to become that I have an aversion to. So if you don't want to do calisthenics and you're struggling to start because you're scared, you're not struggling to start. You're just trying to cope because you're comfortable with where you are right now. And the fact that you don't have to, drop your ego and like fail publicly and have to study a bunch about this new discipline is why you're staying in your comfort zone. So let's continue.
Create a minimalist type routine that you guys can do at home, literally get it done in 30 minutes and do it 2 to 3 times a week and still reap all the benefits in terms of building lean muscle, building strength, building mobility, and progressing your way in some of those more intermediate and advanced skills, which is obviously what we want to try and do. So all we're doing...
Okay, pause. So Matt said build lean muscle, strength, and get mobility. Those things are good on paper, but let's just not forget the reason why we started calisthenics in the first place. Like, we don't really care about these skills because on paper, they're just like circus monkey moves, right? And what we want out of life is just to feel good, just be proud of the progress that we've made. And I'll give you a little story just before we dive into like the meat of this video. I trained calisthenics for 7 years. When I started in 2018, I was a teenager that just wanted to look cool in front of girls because I was a skinny Asian nerd. I was playing video games, and the only way that I could feel seen is if I did calisthenics. So obviously I wanted to learn the muscle up. I wanted to learn the handstand push-up, but the reason why I did those moves is so that I can feel validated or I can feel proud of the progress that I made, because I wasn't good at anything at school. Like, I was flunking all the tests, and I wasn't anyone special because I was just, a nobody. And so it was an outlet for me to feel proud about the progress I made myself. Not the assignments that the teachers gave to me, but because I chose to do something and I actually put my foot forward and implemented all the knowledge that I acquired, and something just grew out of it. So yeah, the lean body and the strength and mobility that you get, that is the proof, but what you actually want is a transformation. And I understand you. It's something we can discuss later. Let's just move on.
Today is literally 6 exercises, and we're going to superset a little bit of it so we can breeze through it a little bit quickly. And as I said, honestly, the main part of the workout, you can breeze through in 30 minutes easy. So let's get stuck into that.
Okay. I keep stopping and starting, but let's just really break down for a minute. You don't actually want to do a workout for a short amount of time, because if you do a bad workout for 30 minutes and you get like nothing out of it, the workout just did nothing for you, then it's actually worse off if you spent a little bit of time, because then you would have wasted those 30 minutes. If you think about it, right, you would much rather do something super efficiently and just put like a little bit more effort into understanding why things are put in place and why we're doing these workouts and what strategies we're implementing in order for you to do it in 30 minutes instead of 1.5 hours, because then you're maximizing your time. And maybe I didn't word that correctly, but the reason why Matt is able to create this workout in 30 minutes and it being science-based and will provide you maximum results is because he's utilizing antagonist muscles. So what he said, supersets right there. I'm pretty sure the exercises that you're going to be doing is mixing push skills and pull skills, because when you use opposing muscle groups like push and then you do pull, you don't need to rest as long because of just the nature of the muscles and the way that your energy systems are used, because opposite forces when it comes to fitness requires less rest time overall. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't sacrifice quality for quantity. Just because a workout is 30 minutes long doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to save you time. It might actually make things worse. And if you do a 30-minute workout and you're rushing things and you don't rest enough and you don't do it the right technique and the right way, you could actually get injured, which will cost you way more than 30 minutes in the future. Bear that in mind.
As I said, we're grouping together 6 exercises into 3 different supersets. And the first one we're going to do
there you go.
more strength and skill focus. And we're going to be grouping together a plunge and front lever. And for all of these exercises, by the way, all you need access to is any form of pull-up bar. You don't need anything else. Literally just a pull-up bar.
That's true.
Sweet. Keeping it very minimalist, as I said. For the first variation, as I said, we're doing a plunge on the front lever. We're going to do 3 sets. And you're going to pick the variation that you can handle for around a 4.
All right, so this is pretty generic. Not in the bad way. Matt is actually following something called PTTB, which is prepare, test, train, build. And prepare is just, your general warm-up, but testing phase is always going to include the most skill coordinated movements, the most mentally fear-mongering or most testing exercises within this phase, so that you can just get out of the way and also just see how strong you actually are. So planche and front lever, it seems scary, but you just want to do it at the start of your workout because you're going to be less fatigued. You're going to be actually seeing what your true level in calisthenics is, because it's the hardest skills within push and pull. And 4 to 7 seconds in terms of hold time is that strength rep range, which is what you want to absolutely utilize at the start before you build up lactic acid and gas yourself out. And I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that towards the end of this workout, Matt is going to get you to burn out, because if you're only doing a 30-minute workout, you're going to want to feel like the pump and everything, especially if you're moving from gym to calisthenics. So the first part of this workout is just skill coordination and then testing and then doing all these hard moves. And then you'll start to feel more of the burn as you go along.
4 to 7 second hold range for both of them. So it's very strength focused, and obviously you want to try and make sure you have it with reasonably good form. You also want to be pushing it at hard intensity. So make sure you pick the right variation, and each session, each week, slowly progress through the variations as you start to build strength. So the planche progressions that you want to try and work through, we're starting in a planche lean. You can also do an assisted tuck planche, finally an actual tuck planche itself. Then you can start progressing to an advanced tuck over time. Then you can also do a hip flex straddle or an actual straddle planche itself. I also give you the option, if you want to use bands, you're welcome to do that. Whether you want to do a banded, maybe.
Okay, so this is a little bit confusing for beginners because Matt is just being an absolute beast and doing everything on the floor. But keep in mind, when you do planche movements on the floor, it is super, super difficult. I recommend after you do planche lean on the floor, just go straight to parallettes, and not the squishy push-up bars that you get in like a Kmart or a Big W or whatever, but like good solid wooden parallettes. And if you don't have those, then just use dumbbells. It's the next best alternative, although they are a little bit slippery or they are a little bit thin. But don't use the squishy push-up handles. And if you look at the progressions going from tuck planche to doing a advanced tuck planche on floor, that is like, whew. If you're a hard gainer at planche, like you're tall, you're heavy, and you don't really have much experience in fitness, that's like 8 months of a gap. So I'm gonna give you the harsh reality. It's not easy to do planche, and between going from tuck to advanced tuck, it is a really long time. But that's not to say that you shouldn't start planche right now, because if you train the hardest movements in calisthenics, it bleeds down into the other movements, and I'll actually let you see like the correlation between planche and the next movements within his video.
Or even a banded shuttle planche, just making sure you work.
Bands are a really good way to progress, by the way. Like if you want to just bridge the gap between these progressions without it having like an 8-month gap, then when you do tuck, the next progression after that will be a banded advanced tuck. Instead of going from tuck on floor to advanced tuck on floor, do parallel tuck or floor tuck, and then do banded advanced tuck.
Working in those 4 to 7 second hold ranges, super important. And also keeping the good form. Keep that scap retraction, keep those locked out elbows. Technique is very important here.
So for the front lever, as a
Okay, good form. It's important, but it's not everything. So there is the argument that if you do good form, then you're not going to get injured. And if you keep doing bad form, then you're not going to be able to hit that skill ceiling and be able to like get your most amount of peak strength in calisthenics. But a really common concept in European calisthenics theory is the idea that you bounce between form and volume, form and volume, form and volume. So most of the time, you want to be doing volume because that is going to be the biggest driver to strength and raw power. But then you also have some stages in your training where you're trying to brush up on your technique and your skills so that you can push it to the next level. So it's okay if you have bad form, if you know that sometime in the future you are going to correct your form, and the bad form that you're doing is not actually going to cause you immediate injury. All right.
So we obviously need a pull-up bar for this one. Don't need anything fancy, just any literal horizontal bar, and then you can do a front lever. What we have to make sure we're doing with all of the front lever progressions is simply making sure that our shoulder blades are neutral, not completely retracted, not protracted. You're bringing your shoulder blades back down into a neutral position. So that's completely neutral, not all the way back. That's the position, and you'll see my spine is nice and straight. You want to maintain that the whole time.
Okay, I'm actually going to argue against Matt with this. I think you should actually try to do scapular retraction when it comes to doing the isometric hold for the movement, because it's really hard to hold a front lever with retraction. Super, super difficult. And most often not, if you try to do a front lever with maximum retraction, you're going to naturally fall into neutral scapulars. But if you do neutral scapulars and you're weak in the movement, you're going to fall into scapular protraction with front lever. So this concept is called supercompensation. You do the most that you can possibly do in terms of technique for a movement, and if you are weak, then you fall to your average. But if you do your average, you will fall to your weakness. So that works with planche as well. If you're going to train planche and do like planche leans, protract as hard as you can, because I can guarantee you, if you do a hard progression, you will just end up being in a neutral spot, and you won't even have that super protraction that you are training. So same as front lever, retract as hard as you can. Literally imagine you're going to pinch a pencil between your back, because I can guarantee you, once you do start to do progressions such as tuck, advanced, straddle, halfway, full, you're not going to be holding that retraction, but you'll fall to your average. So that's my my pushback against Matt's ideology.
First progression, well, obviously, sorry, the next things you have to make sure you're doing is your elbows are completely locked out and your hips.
I actually challenge that. Do not fully lock out your elbows when it comes to front lever. The reason why is because when you lock out your elbows, you're not able to activate your bicep and your forearm, and then you put everything onto your lat. For a normal front lever hold, that looks aesthetic. because you have a straight line for your arms and it looks clean. And also with the front lever, using your lats is going to be like the main prime mover for the movement. And that's all you really need. You don't need your bicep and your forearms. But if you actually want to do calisthenics in the long term and you want a really high level of strength, a front lever hold is actually a basic exercise. The next step above that is front lever pull-ups and front lever touch. And for the front lever pull-ups and front lever touch, you actually need your biceps and your forearms if you want to do these dynamic movements. And the touch and then the front lever hold is actually something that is just thrown to the side. So if you want to do calisthenics and just do the front lever hold and you want to stop after that, lock out your arms. But if you want to strengthen your biceps, you want to strengthen your forearms, you want to be able to use false grip correctly in the future and do front lever pull-ups, front lever touch for calisthenics, then don't lock out your arms because there's just no need. Let's continue.
In line with your shoulders. As long as you're ticking off those three things pretty much, spine straight, hips in line with shoulders, shoulder blades in the right position, elbows straight, you're going to get most of the progressions pretty much right. From there...
I keep pausing, Matt, but that's because I find so many things that you can improve on. If you do front lever on a high bar, then it's going to be so much harder for you to enter it as a beginner than if you were to find a low bar. So he's on the dip machine right now, right? He's got the bars on the top and he's got the bars on the bottom where you do your dips. All of my clients, they always enter the front lever on the bottom bars of the dip bar, because if you're doing a front lever using the high bar, you actually have to do a micro press into the line. And when you go from low to high in calisthenics, it's always harder than going from high to low or just entering it in the perfect line and then just tensing your muscles or pressing against gravity. So if you're a beginner and you don't have a good level of strength, do not use the high bar for front lever. Also, you'll notice that Matt uses his shoes. Take off your damn shoes because they increase the force on your load length, which is basically, if you think about your calisthenics move as a seesaw, then the bit where your leg is, that's like it's like jotted out way more than where your body is, right? And so if you have a seesaw that has more weight on one side, then it's going to be harder for you to balance. I know you kind of get it, right? Just basic physics.
You can use a banded tuck front lever, totally fine to use that. Then progress to a typical tuck front lever. Then you've got an advanced tucked, you've got a hip flex straddle, you have a straddle position, you have a half weight, and then you finally have that front lever. It's very exciting. And you'll see here
yeah. One thing to note is when you're going between tuck to advanced tuck to straddle to half weight to full front lever, you are not just doing isometric holds, you are doing pressing movements. That is a secret key to calisthenics. I'm not going to go too deep into this because this will require a whole new video, but there are lots of exercises in between these movements so that you can progress, because going from an advanced tuck to a straddle, that is like 2 months of progress required. But in between those 2 months, you're also combining different movements for you to get there. Pressing is not just going from front lever to an inverted hold, but it can also be from dead hang to front lever. So there's lots of things that you can do, and also dead hang to inverted hold is another one. Keep continuing. I can say so much because I just have so much knowledge about every little thing, but the reason why you're watching this video is because you're watching it for my knowledge. But this is a great video so far. It's really simplistic, but yeah, once again, you're watching this video for that next step.
we're going to do a plunge, jump down, get into that plunge variations for 4 to 7 second holds. Drop down, jump up, find that pull-up bar, and find the variation that obviously you can handle, and go for that 4 to 7 seconds. Take your 2 minutes of rest, and you're doing another 2 sets of that. Super simple. Just making sure you understand the technique and you understand how to actually progress through it. Making sure you get those form requirements right. These are 2 very technical exercises. So moving on to the second superset now, and I have to make a quick disclaimer. My video editor would absolutely love this and be hammering me. It is 8 exercises. Don't know why I said 6. I knew it was 8, but we're doing 8 exercises, 4 lots of supersets, and we'll still get it done in 30 minutes, I promise. This one we're doing is a pull-up variation that you can obviously handle. You can absolutely use bands. You can even use weight. That's totally fine. And we'll be supersetting that pull-up with a press variation, which we'll talk on as well. So with a pull-up, what we're doing is a hollow body pull-up, and this is super important. We're not doing those bodybuilder pull-ups where we're flaring our elbows, fluttering the range, and just keeping constant tension of our rear delts and our upper back. What we're trying to do is build strength or calisthenics. So we're trying to keep our core compressed the whole time, our hips relatively forward, and we're trying to pull with our elbows tucked. And what that's going to do is obviously build a lot more core compression and overall pulling strength for exercises like muscle up and front levers. So making sure you're getting this technique right and you're not doing those bodybuilder pull-ups. For calisthenics athletes here. Also, most importantly, please, you're starting from a dead hang and you're getting that chin over the bar. Absolute key requirement. I don't care what you do, there's 2 things you have to make sure you're doing. And obviously...
Okay, so if you're doing bodybuilding pull-ups and you're still struggling with the muscle up, it's because you're not actually abusing momentum. Muscle ups are basically momentum abuse. You're trying to utilize the stretch reflex of the scapulars. You're trying to utilize your lats to pull into a C-shaped motion, and you're abusing elbow drive so you can then complete the movement and drive your body over the bar. So a bodybuilding style pull-up, if you keep going on with that, but you're still training muscle ups, you will be able to do a muscle up after, let's just be nice, 3 months. Okay, because you probably have some muscle, you probably got some oomph behind you. You just don't have that technique, but you'll figure it out. Like 3 months, you will figure it out. You might do a bit of chicken wing, you might get injured, but you'll get there. Now, if you do hollow body pull-ups, then you'll be able to do the muscle up in, let's say, 2 months, because it is just that much faster. You're activating your core. You're actually using proper elbow drive. You're getting that full stretch in your lats because you're going from a dead hang and then pulling. Because the muscle up, it's all about that stretch reflex at the bottom, abusing your momentum. If you keep your arms bent while you're trying to go for a muscle up, you're going to get stuck so many times. That's why the hollow body pull up all the way down, all the way up is going to be king. Now, there's one more pull-up style that will be able to get you muscle up in 2 to 4 weeks. And this is what my clients do to achieve it. And I even have some people that I teach get the muscle up in 5 minutes. But it's called, what do I call it? I call it the stick point pull up, I think, or the elbow drive pull up. I don't know, but it looks like this. So this is the bad form, the bodybuilder form, and I'm controlling the movement, and then I think I come back down after this 3rd rep, and now I'm going to come up and do the stick point, boom. So I move really explosively, and I'm just abusing that elbow drive because at the top, that's the sticking point for muscle up. And when I'm throwing my elbows backwards, I'm not just using my lats, I'm using my mid back, like my and my rear delts. And if you look at the high pull up as well, this is going to transfer a lot, because the high pull up, if you can pull to your waist with the pull up, you're basically able to do a muscle up. So what is the high pull up? It's basically elbow drive. It's at its most purest form. Actually, no, front level pull ups is elbow drive at the most purest form. But you can see that I'm just going zoop with my elbows. And so this is really important. Literally the difference between you doing 3 months and getting injured, or you being able to do it in 5 minutes or 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how responsive you are. Let's keep going on.
We're working in that 4 to 6 rep range, right? So you want to be using the progression that you can handle. So start with a band, progress the bands down depending on where you are in that rep range. Slowly aim to be able to do it with the body weight. And then we're going to be doing side to side pull up, maybe progressing to your archer pull up. And then you can also, if you want to instead going down the side to side and archer route, you can actually do weighted pull-ups. So I'm leaving that up to you guys. You choose the variation. I think they're all absolutely fantastic. So it's entirely up to you. Be smart.
Okay, if you want my opinion, the uneven pull-up is the king of all vertical pulling movements, because if you can do one arm chin-ups, you can pull a lot of weight. Like look at rock climbers, they do one arm chin-ups every time they do an overhang problem in bouldering, right? And we can both agree that rock climbers and boulderers, these guys are like ants. They can lift a ton, literally. So uneven pull-ups, I'll show you what they look like. But yeah, you pull to one side, and if you're strong enough, that assisting arm that you pull up with, you can let go of your fingers. So instead of you doing 5 fingers and pulling to one arm, you can do one finger, pull that to that one arm. And as you come down on the negative, where you're most powerful because your muscles are stretching and you got that eccentric loading, you can even remove your arm and just go down with one arm like this. And that's going to progressively overload so much, because you go from 5 fingers to 4 fingers, 3 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger, which is so easy to track. And then you're able to then do accommodating resistance, which is basically adjusting the movement's intensity based off how strong you are in a certain range. And so if you're strong and eccentric, then you make it harder. So then the overall intensity of the movement is consistent, and then you're able to go down. And if you're able to do things unilaterally, you're able to do things with both arms. And so you'll get a massive like weighted pull up and chin up, because chin up and pull up, they're actually pretty correlated. And then not only will uneven pull ups help you with your weighted pull up, but they'll also get you the one arm chin up, obviously, because you're doing uneven pull ups. And then when you're training your bicep in that isometric position at the top, you're also conditioning your top range lat strength for front lever touch, because when you're doing weighted pull-ups, you just go boom, boom, boom like this, right? But if you're actually holding your body up with one arm at the top range, then translate that to a front lever touch, boom. You're like so much more controlled when it comes to a really hard isometric. Another thing is, when you do an uneven pull-up and you're using body weight, you're conditioning your bicep. And when you condition your bicep, then you'll be able to do planche better. And if you ever do Maltese in the future, you'll be able to do Maltese better. And then you don't have to do all these different exercises. You don't have to do pull-ups. You don't have to do archer pull-ups. You don't have to do weighted pull-ups. You just have to do one single exercise, which is the uneven pull-up. And it is the absolute king. All right? Obviously, I can just do one arm chin-ups for reps. But if I want to like squeeze out a bit more volume, I go pinky finger, pull up. And on the way down, remove my hand. It can cater to every single level out there, and it carries over the different sports. If you want to do rock climbing, uneven pull-ups. If you want to do arm wrestling, uneven pull-ups. If you want to, yeah, I know, it's just like the best exercise, to be honest.
Smart about the progression, and you're aiming to get around the rep range for a good level of intensity. Not to complete balls to wall failure, but very close to failure at high intensity. Let's go into the press variation now. So the press variation you see on the previous one, we did a vertical pull, obviously. Here we're doing a vertical push. So what we want to start with, some of you may not have the strength for that vertical push, so we can start with kneeling push-ups. For the push-up variations, all I want to make sure that you're doing is your elbows stay fixed over your wrists, and you're getting a full range of motion. Chest to ground, pressing back up. That's what I'm going to make sure you're doing. Hips not high, hips not too low, hips in the right position. Whether you're doing them kneeling or straight, that's the position. So the first progression is obviously kneeling push-ups, and then you're going to work toward bodyweight push-ups. If you're at that point there, what you can progress to now is pike push-up variations. This is incredibly difficult, and if you watched my channel before, I absolutely hone in on this, but I'll give you a quick rundown. All you have to make sure you're doing is hands roughly around shoulder width. You can go a little bit wider. You want to work your hands and feet quite nice and high. Come onto your toes, get your hips nice and high. From there, your shoulders shift forward. That's the first motion. You're not going down. Shoulders forward, elbows fixed over wrists, forehead to floor, press back up onto that triangle position. Shift forward, nose to floor, press back up. The most important thing you're doing is keeping your elbows over your wrist. Just get that right, and most of the movement's going to be pretty good. It fixes absolutely everything. So that's obviously that pike push-up variation.
Yeah, look, pike push-ups, it's not just a harder variation for your pushing movements, and it's not just a movement to build your chest or your shoulders with high intensity without equipment. It's actually one of the best movements for handstand push-ups, which is a core skill in calisthenics. So if you're doing pike push-ups, I would actually focus a goal for pike push-ups to move towards handstand push-ups, because everyone wants to do a handstand push-up. It's just like a universal skill that you want to do. Like if you don't want to do a handstand push-up, you're just weird, bro. So make that your goal, because it's so much better than just using this movement to work a muscle group or to I don't know, make things harder. Yeah, handstand push-ups is why we do pike push-ups.
If that's quite difficult for you still, but push-ups are too easy, you can use a band. Absolutely use a band, or you can be a little bit more half pike, so you're not as deep into the pike.
Okay, I will not use a band or do half pike for pike push-ups. If you want to make the most out of pike push-ups, but you're too weak to do them fully, just do controlled negatives. And then you come back up, and then just do controlled negatives. Just spam controlled negatives and do whatever you can to just do it right. I haven't encountered a need to do banded pike push-ups and extended pike push-ups, like a half pike push-up. My client Christina, who's 47 years old, we put a pillow on the floor. She does her pike push-ups negatives, and then after like a few weeks, she was able to do pike push-ups fully. So never needed to do bands or to do it in this shape.
And then progress to getting a little bit further. From there, elevate your feet up, and then you can progress up to obviously getting to a little...
Like we just do decline push-ups as well. Like that just fills in the gap, because if you have a weakness in one movement, instead of you just doing the movement with like so many bits and bobs and just making it too complicated, just do another supplementary movement. So her pike push, like Christina's pike push-ups were not that great because she couldn't do it full form. So we did it negatives, and then we just used decline push-ups to fill in that gap.
A bit more of that 90-degree elevated position, and then finally chest to wall handstand push-ups are a great variation. You need to make it shorter range, that's okay. Slowly reduce the range down until you're doing them normally, and then if you're at that level and you're already like handstands, do handstand push-ups, absolutely whatever you want to do. Those progressions are absolutely limitless for that. All right, so let's do this one together. My back's a little bit sore from yesterday, so we're going to take it a little bit easier. Do your 4 to 6 reps of your hardest pull-up variation, going for a really good intensity. Keep pushing. Beautiful. Drop down, and then go for that vertical press variation that you can actually handle. So let's do that together. I'm just showing off now, by the way, guys. Yeah, that 4 to 6 rep range, yeah. And then obviously we'll do 2 more sets of that one. Take your full 3 minutes of rest. This is important for the rest of this one. And if you can, take more reps. All of these, to be honest with you, take as much reps as you can. Obviously, we have to be practical. If you guys want to get it done in 30 minutes, then take a little bit less rep. The rest of...
Look, I don't actually rate wall handstand push-ups, because why not just do handstand push-ups or weighted handstand push-ups? Floating pike push-ups are also difficult enough. The wall just adds like a whole new factor, because you have to like you have to like make sure that your core is engaged, but the core engagement on the wall handstand push-up is not the same as a normal freestanding handstand push-up, so you're actually confusing yourself. If I want to work on my shoulders and my upper chest, I just grab a barbell and I just rep that out. I just do Smith machine, incline press, or I just do like dumbbells. Like wall assisted handstand push-ups, it's requires different moving parts which don't even correlate to the freestanding, because at that point you should just do freestanding handstand push-ups or weighted handstand push-ups, and if you can't balance, then just use weights.
It's important to build strength. So at the very least 2 minutes. Let's move to the next one. Super quick one, guys, before we jump into the next one. I do have a school community and I do coaching. If you guys need structure within your training, you want to have a personalized approach, get coaching feedback in terms of your actual skills to make sure you're doing it correctly and you're building that foundation properly to skyrocket your strength. Sus below if you do want that extra guidance to do coaching, as I said, and there's a school community there too. if you are interested. Otherwise, continue watching the video. I'll see you in the next.
Yeah, so this is a little bit about school community. I'm actually in Matt's school and I do coaching for his clients, and like I've got all these people that ask questions on the school community. If you want to join it, use my link in the description below. Like, we jump on group calls every Wednesday as well. Although I am reviewing Matt's video, it's really just to improve your guys' knowledge on what calisthenics training should be like, and it's also to just provide my opinion, because at the end of the day, like, it is just my opinion. There's no wrong or right way, and different types of people require different types of messages. So if you resonate with what I say and you want to do coaching with me, then yeah, jump on the school and just kind of get a taste of what that's like. And if you find results through me and you want to take things to the next level, then yeah, just go for a call, and we'll just plan out your next 3 blocks. And if you don't know what a testing week looks like, you don't know what it looks like to go from hopping on a call with us to then getting deep into the program and then making results, check out the video in this title card. Darren, he joined the program and he does not regret it one bit. Let's keep going.
Moving on to that third superset, guys. So what we're doing now, you can tell in the first one we've built up that push and pull skill. The second one we built up that push and pull kind of strength-focused foundation movement. Now we're moving into the core-related stuff, which is obviously very important. So the first one we're going to be doing is an L-sit variation. Doing 3 sets of the 4 to 7 second hold, then supersetting it into a hanging leg raise. Choosing the hardest variation for as many reps as you can. Aim for somewhere around 10. If you can get around 10, somewhere around that ball mark, go as hard as you can. So with that L-sit, I'm going to take my shoes off because it's going to be a little bit harder with the shoes on. You can do the same, and if you do have parallettes for these, or you can raise your hands up with a couple books, it does make it a little bit easier. First variation we're going to be doing is making sure we actually get the technique right. So you have to make sure with all these variations your elbows are completely locked out. Try to get that elbow pit facing forward, so completely locked out. From there, push the shoulders down, so down and a little bit back, and then try to raise up from that position. If you can get into that end sit, or even a single leg end sit for now, that's fantastic. But the progressions, making sure that you hold that technique in terms of upper body and core engagement, then you're starting to try and shift those legs further forward. So you can start with obviously an N sit, move into a single leg L sit, finally an L sit, and then you can try raise up into a V sit. So working through those progressions at the rate that you can handle, all that 4 to 7 second hold range. You can really push the intensity in this one too. And then obviously with the hanging leg raises, super simple this one, there's just 3 different variations. And I want you, 4 different variations. And I want you to go as hard as you can handle. So first one, simple knee raises. Second one is when you're trying to lengthen the knees out a little bit more. Finally, completely straight. And then the final one is lifting up and doing a bit of a toe tap. What I want to make sure that you're doing in all of these ones is you have to make sure you're not using momentum. Because with momentum, if you're using momentum at the bottom, nothing is working here. This range of motion is super easy. So what people do is they swing up because they're using momentum from the top and then barely any muscle. You have to keep it a slow tempo. Think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And keep your hips in line. I don't want to see no swigging shit. That's not calisthenics, that's CrossFit stuff. I'm not doing that shit. All right, so first one, I'm going to do it on here only because I can. If you have access.
All right, so leg raises isn't what you think it is for. Leg raises are actually for front lever, not abs, if you want to be a calisthenics athlete. And I do believe that being able to do leg raises is going to be a key component in your training as a beginner, because if we look at the hanging leg raise, if we're going for a toes to bar, we actually need to engage our lats. They get activated. And when you're doing a toes to bar, it's going to allow you to gain the strength to do inverted deadlifts. And inverted deadlifts are a really good exercise for beginners to start going from tuck front lever to advanced tuck front lever, because you're utilizing your lats, and this is the dynamic movements that I was talking about before that will help you move through the front lever progressions more easily. So use hanging leg raises to build your strength to do the toes to bar, which will then help you be able to do the inverted deadlifts, which will then be able to move down the chain of progression for the front lever.
Just any of this stuff, by all means, you're welcome to use it. But it's a minimalist video, so do whatever you want. So the first one, I'll sit, go for as hard as you can for that 4 to 7 seconds. Woo. And then obviously rep them out as much as you can with the hardest possible variation. I really do aim, like, try and get around 10 reps, really exhaust yourself for this one if you can. And then obviously after that, you're taking your full 2 minutes of rest. You can take a little bit more if you want to, as I said. And then you do 2 more sets of that. Moving into that final exercise. So the final one here, we're doing a little bit more of an AMRAP to get a little bit more volume, a little bit more conditioning. This is going to be greater for that hypertrophy stuff now. First, you're a little bit more strength focused. Now we're doing a little bit more muscle here, which is exciting. So what we're doing is a superset variation of any form of push and then a chin-up variation. So with the pushes, we spoke on this briefly. So what we want to do is obviously an AMRAP. You're entirely up to you which one you want to choose. Aim for something around kind of like at least 8+ reps if you can. Is you're either doing it kneeling, we spoke about the form already, or you're doing a normal push-up, or if you have access to a chest dip, I welcome to you to obviously do a chest dip. You can even do straight bar chest dips off the pull-up bar as well. That's entirely up to you. But if you are going to do that chest dip, I want you to make sure you're doing this again with a hollow body. Same thing with the pull. Now we're keeping our core compressed. You want to do that same thing with the chest dip. So you want to lock your elbows in of where your wrists are, and then you almost do an ab crunch down. See that? See how I'm not flaring? So that's like a typical bodybuilder type chest dip. You're starting from that fully locked out position, shoulders down, ab crunch down, come back up. Ab crunch down, come back out. Fully locking out those elbows. If you need it, if you're able to do this and you want to make it a little bit easier, you can use a band and do that as an AMRAP. Otherwise, go for the chest dip. Don't have a chest dip. You want to do push-ups and make it a bit harder. You can do pike push-ups, elevator pike push-ups. This is entirely up to you. But as I said, try to aim for at least 8+ reps and go for as many as you can. We're building volume here. And then obviously the exact same thing with the chin-up. Some of you may not be able to do chin-ups, which is entirely fair enough. So what you can do is use a band, or you're more than welcome to do an inverted row or even negative chest chin-ups. Entirely up to you, but obviously.
One thing about like the hollow body dip is that it's basically the most important thing for muscle ups, because if you do a tricep dip and you're like really extended out, your chest is puffed and you're just working on your triceps, if you go ahead and do a muscle up, you're not going to be able to get above the bar because you're so retracted in that dip position. So the muscle up, you'll see that you go around the bar and then you have to hunch over and then do it. So you actually need to know how to do a hollow body dip if you want to be able to do a muscle up, or else you're going to create bad habits and they take a really long time to undo, and it'll actually stop you from being able to achieve the skills that you want. And I'm not even talking about planche. Like hollow body dip is an absolute must if you want to learn the basics of protraction in planche.
Making sure you're progressing each week, eventually doing body weight, and then from there you're going for as many reps as possible with that chin up. Making sure, same with your pull up, you're starting from a complete dead hang and you're getting chin over the bar, controlling it back down. A lot more simple the technique with chin ups fantastically. Alrighty, so let's quickly go through that. I'm going to do 100 push-ups right now because that's my AMRAP. 98, 99, yep, 100. Whew. And then I'm gonna do,
so strong.
Same amount of chest chin-ups now. Making sure they're full range of motion.
100 chin-ups.
Honestly, it should be quite a tough exercise. Hopefully you can get through it pretty quickly, adjust the rest times as you need, but either way, this is such a fantastic way to go about it. I really do think you can do so much strength, so much muscle, so much skill in such a short time frame. As long as you're consistent and you're frequently doing it 2 or 3 times a week. And as I said, if you want a little bit more guidance, a little bit more structure, a bit more of a personalized approach, suss the link or the descriptions below. I've got coaching and a community with programs in there. It would absolutely skyrocket your strength. You get feedback.
Yeah, so one more thing is when you want to do rows like what Matt suggested, it's actually a really good exercise for your pulling just in general, because like rows, they just completely utilize that elbow drive. Let's get an example of a row out here, inverted row. Not even this, like I'm talking more like, yeah, ring decline inverted rows. You're just driving your elbows backwards, super beneficial. But I just want to use this time to talk about like the whole point of doing a routine. Obviously routines, they are planned points in time within your week that you'll be able to achieve your goals when it comes to learning calisthenics or to do exercise. This is just a generic video that Matt made that will give you a sense of what to do. But if you want to take it that next step further and you want to know the exact progressions that you should be doing. Like you're no longer guessing about whether you should do advanced or if you're doing tuck, or if you are doing advanced or tuck, if your form is right or is it wrong. If you don't remove that guesswork, then that's when you have someone that is more experienced and has ridden programs and has helped people through those programs to kind of audit what your strength is like. They'll also audit your lifestyle. So whether you're a FIFO worker like Darren, who works 12-hour shifts, or if you're a 47-year-old mom like Christina, who can only train in the morning, and if you're a uni student, or if you're a 9-to-5 worker, or if you're a busy professional, we tailor everything to your needs. So you're no longer doing the guesswork. Anyways, I hope you found value in this video, and I will see you later.